I noticed him before I even understood what I was looking at. A tall, dark shape standing absolutely still in the snow, just a few steps from my window. At first, I thought it was a tree or a shadow cast by the porch light, but then the figure shifted, just a small movement, and a cold shiver ran down my spine. Someone was standing there outside my house, watching me. The storm that night was one of the worst we had in years. Snow piled up against the sides of the house. The wind howled like something was trying to get inside. And the power had gone out an hour earlier, leaving me with only the soft flicker of candlelight reflecting across the room. I was reaching for another blanket when I saw him. It was the way he stood, completely still, almost too still, that made me step closer to the window. My hands were trembling, but I slowly pulled back the curtain and leaned forward. The man didn't move. He didn't wave. He didn't call out. He just stared. And when I saw the faint outline of his face, something inside me cracked. I recognized that shape, that expression, that silence. It reminded me of a night I've tried to forget for almost 40 years. My home sits at the edge of a small town, where the roads turn silent after 7 p.m. No one walks around in a blizzard, not unless they're desperate or determined, or both. I pressed my palm against the cold window. The glass was so icy it almost burned my skin. Outside, the stranger's coat was dusted with fresh snow. His hood shielded most of his face, but his posture, straight, heavy, deliberate, made it clear he wasn't lost. He wasn't looking for help. He was looking for me. I swallowed hard. I knew this feeling, the weight in my chest, the distant echo of a memory I buried. I didn't want to believe it, but the longer I stared at him, the more a single name rose to the front of my mind. I whispered it without meaning to, and he lifted his head, slowly, purposefully, as if he heard me through the glass. I stumbled backward, knocking over the candle. My heart was hammering. I forced myself to breathe, to think, to understand why someone who looks like him, someone who shouldn't exist in my life anymore, would be standing outside my window. I reached for the window latch with shaking fingers. I didn't open it all the way, just enough for sound to slip through. A thin blade of icy air cut across my face, and then I heard him speak. "You know why I'm here." The voice hit me like a physical blow, deep, controlled, familiar in a way that made my stomach twist. I pressed my mouth as tears prickled behind my eyes. No, it couldn't be. It wasn't possible. But he kept talking. "You've owed me the truth for a long time." I almost closed the window. I almost ran, but there was something in his tone. Not anger, not threat. Something heavier. Something wounded. And that was what made me stand there, frozen, listening. He said you saw what happened that night. You were the last one who saw him alive. The storm roared, pushing the snow across the yard like a white curtain. I gripped a window frame, the wood digging into my palms. I had hoped the memory would stay buried forever, but here it was, alive, breathing, staring back at me through the darkness. Decades ago, on a winter night just like this, a man collapsed on the sidewalk near my house. I saw it happen from this very window. I saw him slip, struggle, call out. I saw him try to stand, fail, and reach toward my porch light for help. And I did nothing. I froze with fear, with shame, with cowardice. I watched him die in the snow. When the police came the next morning, I lied. I said I hadn't seen anything. Everyone believed it was an accident, that the man simply slipped in the storm and succumbed to the cold. But I knew better. I always knew. Now, looking at the stranger outside my window, I finally understood who he was. He stepped closer, his boots crunching through the snow. His face came into view, lit faintly by the moon, and I recognized the eyes. Sharp, dark, filled with the pain I knew too well. The eyes of the man who died, the eyes of his son. He was older now, lines etched into his skin, shoulders heavier, gaze harder, but the resemblance was unmistakable. My father didn't deserve to die alone, and I didn't deserve a lifetime of lies. My breath left my lungs all at once. I felt the room spinning. I leaned heavily on the window frame. He stepped even closer. The snow whipped around him, but he didn't seem to notice. You spent years searching for the truth. I found out that someone saw him that night. Someone who lived right here. I closed my eyes. Tears slid down my face. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "Tell me," he demanded softly. And so I did. I told him everything, every moment. The way his father struggled, the way he called out, the way I froze, too terrified to open my door. I confessed the cowardice, the guilt, the nightmares that replayed the scene every winter, the way the cold punished me for decades. When I finished, I couldn't look at him. I expected anger, yelling, accusations, but instead he exhaled a long, pained breath. I thought knowing the truth would make it easier to hate you, but I just wanted to stop wondering. He turned away. The snow swallowed his footsteps. The truth doesn't change what happened, but at least now it's not in the dark anymore. I watched him disappear into the storm. My hand remained on the glass long after he was gone. And for the first time since that night, the cold didn't feel like punishment. It felt like a weight finally lifting.